making things slick. Cold high of 39. With your Storm Track 3 forecast, I'm meteorologist Rana Williams.
Sports Radio KFH.
Kansas Fan Headquarters, 97.5 and 1240 KFH Wichita, KNSS HD2 Clearwater, an Odyssey Sports Station.
Hey, Wichita, it's Jacob Albrock. Stay right there for the latest breaking in sports talk. It's Sports Daily coming up next, exclusively on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Hi, I'm Mike Ham with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The Chiefs are in pursuit of a three-peat this Sunday in Super Bowl 59, and General Manager Brett Veach of the Kansas City Chiefs credits the 2022 draft class as a big reason why. Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, and Isaiah Pacheco among the 9 players selected by KC that year. Meantime, Kirk Cousins' future with the Falcons remains uncertain after he was benched late in the season for rookie Michael Penix. Cousins told NFL Network's Good Morning Football overtime that he's looking forward to continuing his career next season in Atlanta or elsewhere. He added, "I definitely feel like I have a lot of football left in me, but my focus right now is getting healthy." Cousins signed a 4-year, $180 million contract with the Falcons last offseason. And kicker Mason Crosby announced his retirement after 17 years in the NFL. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this: if something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrock and Tommy Kester.
Hey there, good morning, everybody. Welcome into a Wednesday edition of Sports Daily, counting down the days now until the Super Bowl. We are almost there as the Chiefs go and try to make a little history this weekend against Philadelphia. We're going to talk all about it more today. Don't you worry, Chiefs fans. We'll have you covered. Also, a big night of college hoops. We had wins for both Wichita State and KState. So we'll get into each one of those games today on the program. We'll talk a little KU hoops as well with our KU Insider Shreyas Laddha, who's stopping by a little bit later to chat it up with us. All kinds of fun stuff. Your chance to win some a big March Madness prize, your chance to win some HTO coming as well today. It'll be a big show. Thanks for listening to us on KFH. Thanks for watching us on 12 News Connected, on Facebook, on YouTube, on X. Thanks for listening to us on the Odyssey app. You can get in touch with us in all of those capacities. Tommy, good morning. How are you?
Man, I'm hanging in there. Good to see you this morning. It was a long night. Our dog woke me up at like 1 o'clock in the morning to go outside, which usually isn't that big of a deal, but then I couldn't go back to sleep. And so I'm running on a lot of caffeine today. So it should be an interesting show.
Cheers to Prairie Fire Coffee for keeping us caffeinated up.
Absolutely.
At the Odyssey studio. It is one of those nights, very long night. Our kids are coming off of a sickness. One of them gets asthma when he's sick, so it's just coughing all night. Is an adventurous night before bedtime as well. And a story that I'll tell you someday, Tommy. Not today, but it was a wild night for me too. So I'm with you. Need a little caffeine myself, but what gets jacked up is when you do finally get home and K-State continues to be playing well and they get it done against Arizona State. We're going to dig into that game in depth, but a really, really nice road win for the Cats. They were in control most of it. and then withstood a late Arizona State run and got it done. The emotion, I think, at which you saw K-State celebrate that win is a little bit telling to how things are vibing right now in Manhattan with that basketball program. And here we go. Who knows? Something special could happen. I mean, did anybody think Jerome Tang was going to make a deep NCAA tournament run the first year he was at K-State? No, it seemed unbelievable, right? Well, so would a trip back to the NCAA tournament after the way this season started. So never count them out. The team on paper is talented, and they get another win last night and continue their great play as of late. We'll get into that a little more in depth in the Shockers, Tommy. We can say Wichita State, beats Charlotte again, yay, and make light of that. But the reality is they were missing a couple of key players we found out right before tip time. So the fact that despite missing a couple of key players, they were able to go get a win in Charlotte, I do think is promising. You saw more minutes from A.J. McGinnis, more minutes from Zion Pipkin because of the injuries to Harlan Beverly and Justin Hill. And they were able to get it done as well, despite a slow start. So you got good feeling this morning for college basketball. Certainly for these two programs from where they were not that long ago.
Yeah, I think that as soon as everybody found out that both Justin Hill and Harlan Beverly were not going to play last night, the entire Shocker fan base, probably collectively panicked all at the same time because, going into the way it's been such a struggle lately. And the last time these two teams matched up, Wichita State got a win, their only conference win up to that point. But it wasn't a comfortable win by any means. Now you're going on the road, a team that you've already beaten once, but now you got to beat them in their place, and you're missing two of your top guys, and you find out right before game time that's not going to happen. Like things weren't trending very well when the game started, and throughout the course of especially the early part of the first half, it was kind of touch and go there for a little bit. Like the Shockers were down at various points. At one point, I think they were down 6 or 7 early in the first half, and you're like, man, like they're missing the firepower. And you've got a Charlotte team that they want to beat you on their home court because you beat them on yours. And then they were able to take a halftime lead, and then they were able to sort of get a little bit of breathing room. It was never a blowout by any means, but at least you were able to play from the lead as opposed to playing from behind on the road in the second half. So, all in all, in that particular game for the Shockers, down 2 of their top guys. Yeah, I feel like that's a win that you look back on and you say, okay, it's a road conference win. They needed to have it and they got it.
Yeah, look, are we throwing a parade that they beat the only team below them in the conference standings in Charlotte for the second time this year, and that has been their only conference wins? We are not. But we are also not sitting here having to talk about how the sky is falling either. They've got a chance to go win a couple more games here. Winnable game on Sunday, on Super Bowl Sunday, as they like to play on Super Bowl Sunday.
They play a lot of Super Bowl Sunday games.
Yeah, it's weird. At South Florida, so back-to-back road games, that'll be tough. That'll be tough. And then it's back home against UTSA before the big home game against Memphis. So I think Wichita State is very much a, take it one game at a time kind of a thing, and just see if they can get anything going before the conference tournament. We know they have no path outside of the conference tournament. We know that we just need to see them playing better. We also know that their best is probably good enough, just like it was last year, to have a puncher's chance in any conference game that they play. So you hang your hat on that and just hope they continue to improve and hang in there. And they did that last night, despite some relatively, tough odds with those key players being out.
Well, and I think the good news too is that it doesn't sound like either one of those injuries are long-term things. I know that Justin Hill, they shut him down, I think, for a game earlier this season with a hamstring. And so I think, that kind of sounded like it was more precautionary than anything else. And I know Harlan Beverly hadn't cleared concussion protocol. So hopefully, those guys will be ready to go by Sunday. You've got a little bit of a break between now and then. So, hopefully by the time they play South Florida on the road, or especially when, they're back at home with the UTSA game and then the Memphis game, those guys are ready to go.
Yeah, it will. That's the game, right? That's the one we all really want to see right now is can they go get something done against Memphis? So we'll cross that bridge. I got 2 games to go before they get there, though, that you'd really like to see them be able to win. K-State last night, Tommy, and we'll get into this right on the other side here. That was the one where I think we're on a run here now with them where they're like, if they're back, they were never really here, but like they're going now. Like they're doing some big back-to-back road wins, Iowa State, Arizona State. Man, that's a tough ask, right? Like that's not anything to sneeze at in the Big 12. And now you've got to come home and play back-to-back home games against Kansas and Arizona. That's going to be tough. But after that, they get some opportunities to pile up some wins before the end of the season. So that game last night was critical to having that chance, right? Because now you got to play Kansas and Arizona. You really needed that one against Arizona State, and they got it. And they got it in exciting fashion. It's just so nice to see them so bought in and energized, and all of those things that bugged us early in the year seem to be gone now, and they're ready to roll. And my goodness, why did it take so long?
Yeah, well, and you could say that game to game as well, because they have a tendency to fall behind early in games. They were down 18-2 in the game last night, and Jerome Tang calls a timeout. I mean, that happened against Iowa State. That happened against Kansas. They fall from behind. They're able to storm right back. Jerome Tang times those timeouts really nicely. And then it was all Wildcats from there, and they were able to withstand a couple of runs from Arizona State. That was a good effort from them last night.
That's what we'll talk about next. Keep it here. It's Albrecht and Castor on Sports Daily. We're coming right back.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
What is GMFB Overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
831001 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
we investigate stories that impact you
and inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems
Why are they hiding it?
and real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Hey, you can listen to KFH Radio for your chance at the ultimate trip to Vegas in March. Winning is easy. Just download the free Odyssey app, log in, and listen to KFH Radio. Listen each day for a minimum of 1 hour for your daily entry. It includes travel and accommodations for 4 to Las Vegas plus $20,000 spending cash. Get all the info with the national contest right at kfhradio.com. You'll stay at the Circa Resort and Casino, Las Vegas's premium sports viewing destination. Visit the biggest March Hoops party at Stadium Swim. Welcome back into Sports Daily right here on KFH. We appreciate you being with us this morning. It's Jacob Albrecht. It's Tommy Castor. And we're coming off a big night of college hoops. A couple wins. Feels good. It's been a while probably since we've had both of Wichita State and K-State win the same game within a week, but they did that last night. Let's talk about K-State first because, Tommy, we got something cooking here. K-State's got a chance. I think now they went 1-0. So of these last games, I said, 8-2, maybe 7-3 and some tournament wins. And I think they'd be in the NCAA tournament. That's how crazy the Big 12 is as far as opportunities to play big time games. K-State forever, they just didn't have any quality wins on their resume. And now they have a bunch. And if we inverted this and turned it upside down as they now sit, ninth, I think it is in the Big 12, 82 in the net. I think if we turn this upside down and it didn't happen in the order of the way it has, but, we looked at them and they got 5 Big 12 wins, including road wins at Iowa State, at Arizona State, a home win against West Virginia. We'd be talking about them as a bubble team, right? It's just that it all happened in this weird order of everything was bad until the last couple of weeks. I think it's time to refocus that energy a little bit and think of this team as a bubble team because they probably, if they're playing like this, that's where they'll be. They'll be somewhere in that bubble, and it'll really come down to the nitty gritty of how many of these games can they take care of. We're going to really, really dissect the Texas Tech and TCU games that they should have won that they didn't, because those would be real handy right now.
Yeah, I think on top of that too, you go back all the way to the early part of the season in the non-conference, and we didn't really know anything about this team. They didn't really play anybody until they got to that St. John's game. Yeah. We didn't really know what kind of team we were really talking about. And so by the time we actually figured out a little bit about who this team actually was, They were dropping games to St. John's and to Wichita State, and then they were starting off Big 12 play in a pretty terrible way. So even going all the way back to early in the season, it wasn't that we thought they were pretty good and then they fell off. Nobody had any idea. And so the first indication that you had about this team was that they were not very good, because when they finally started to play, at least some halfway decent or quality opponents, they were stumbling every time. And so they've got to reset that narrative. And they've done that, I think, over the last 3 or 4 games, a little bit, at least, to where I think people are looking at them. I don't know if people are looking at them right this second as a bona fide potential tournament team, or if they're looking at them more as they still need to string together a handful, of other big wins to get to that point. But I do think they're at least getting people to take notice of them. And at this point in the season, especially after what you went through early on, I think that's really important.
Well, and we just never really saw them play well at all until a couple of weeks ago, right? Like what we're seeing, we thought before the season ever started on paper, like going into this season, I loved the way this team looked on paper, right? The pieces fit together. Everybody's a nice complement to each other. They've got shooters. They've got some size. They've got a point guard, which we know is important to Jerome Tate. Like, it all looked good on paper. It all would, and it's like, okay, well, it takes a little time to get the pieces to mesh, but it wasn't ever really that. It was more of like a buy-in, it felt like. Well, now they're bought, like you can tell with the energy. And it was very nice last night to see that in a game where it was a little different than it had been since they've been playing really well, right? Like that it was back to like Gasson leading the way. They were still able to utilize that and win a game. They shot a bunch of threes, which they like to do. Brendan Haasen had a good night from there. Max Jones had a good night from there. Everybody else was okay. Coleman Hawkins actually took a couple of big threes, and he continues to be really versatile and good. But Gasson led the way, and they're based on early in the season, there weren't going to be a lot of games where I'd say, oh, Gasson led the way, and they'll come out on top. But they did. And he made, look, you want to talk about that was a really, really smart play to end that game.
It was. It absolutely was.
Because they could have easily let him blow by and then tried to, for 3 or 4 seconds, get a shot on the other end. But Gasson made sure he didn't make that shot because that kid is 17 years old and barely, and I think he's about a 50% free throw shooter. Take your chances. Does he tie the game? What happens here? He misses them both and you win. So a little good luck there, but a smart play that led to the good luck, and K-State gets a win. That's the kind of stuff where Gasson, like, is he the best player on that team? No, but he's got all this experience, and
he might be the most important player on the team. And there have been multiple times throughout the year that you and I have had conversations about why are they not playing through him more? I mean, he's probably their most consistent offensive player, and he doesn't get the kind of accolades in the conference or nationally that I think he deserves. But he's just kind of a steady force, down low. And he showed off offensively last night at a clip that we haven't seen from him this year. But even in other games, he's been that steady force, down low. Is he going to play bully ball and win against, the top big men in the country? Probably not,
no.
But at least last night against Arizona State, I mean, what he put up 22 points or whatever. And what's interesting about that is that it's not just the offensive output. You mentioned that smart decision. It's basketball IQ. It's that experience. It's knowing in the moment what the right decision is. And like I think that you have to foul in that situation, because otherwise they're going to get a breakaway dunk and Arizona State's going to win the game. And so that was a really heads up, high basketball IQ type play. And he had been doing things like that all night long. He was the main catalyst for the reason that the Wildcats won. But what's crazy about it, Jacob, is that not only was it his point output, but you had a bunch of other players that, like, they stacked the stat sheet. Like Doug McDaniel almost had a triple-double, and Coleman Hawkins almost had a triple-double, and Brendan Haasen shot the ball really well. Like, when they're rounding into form, man, they've got playmakers that are really good.
They fit together like we thought they would on paper. I mean, it's what we thought is finally happening. I got to tell you, with Coleman Hawkins, who's taken a lot of grief and a lot of heat, and I have thought it's been very unnecessary, by the way, and I think I've been pretty front facing with that. Fans were expecting him to be something he is not, only because he reportedly got a big NIL deal, and it's like, hang on, he is an insane passer, has been all year. Like, that dude can pass. He's got great court vision. He doesn't look like the kind of guy who would normally do that, but he does. He's just tall, right? But he's not a 20-point a game score like that. People thought that because he got paid a lot, he was going to come in and all of a sudden do something that he'd never done. That's not what they brought him in from Illinois to do what he does, and that's what he's doing. He's, which is, you mentioned a triple double. That's kind of his threat, right? But it's ton of rebounds, ton of assists, and some points, right? He's not a shooter. Although he did take 2 3s, he hit 2 3s last night. That's not his game, and it shouldn't be his game. They never needed it to be his game. They brought in other guys to do that. They brought in the Joneses. They brought in Doug McDaniel. They brought in Brendan Hawson. On paper, they never needed Coleman Hawkins to be that kind of player. Yet all the attention early when they were struggling was, why isn't Coleman Hawkins playing better? Like, is he really playing that bad? I remember he had one bad game where he missed some free throws or something. But like, they weren't generating any offense, but that was never going to be his role on this team.
You know why that was? It was because those guys that you just listed off, none of them were playing well. Like,
right.
Doug McDaniel wasn't asserting himself like we're seeing right now. The Joneses weren't hitting shots. Brendan Hawson has been fairly consistent all year, but even early on when they were struggling, the shots weren't falling at the clip that we're seeing now, and they weren't really feeding David Gasson like they are. And so all of those pieces were not working. And so all the attention is going to your $2 million man. Like, hey, why are you not producing more when nobody is producing at that point? He's going to get the most attention because he's the one that's making the most amount of money.
Which again is unfair and unhealthy, I think, to a locker room, because that's not what he was ever going to do. So now we look at this thing. The top 5 teams of the Big 12 right now, as it currently stands, are going to be NCAA tournament teams. No doubt about it. Unquestioned. Houston, Arizona, Texas Tech, Iowa State, Kansas are all going to be in some way, form, or fashion. It's what happens after that that gets really interesting, and that's where we'll find K-State, I think, enter the conversation late in the year. And I know it sounds crazy because they have 11 losses right now, but they're right there. They're within a game of BYU, Baylor, and West Virginia, the 3 teams ahead of them. They'd be in 5th place. So they get some games here. It's a really nice combination, but they've got to be able to handle business. I still contend they have to win at least one of, very likely, Kansas, Arizona, or Iowa State at home. They got to have one of those 3, probably, and or win every one of the others: BYU, Utah, Arizona State, UCF, Colorado, Cincinnati, and then get a shot in the tournament. It'll be interesting, though, if they just simply handle their business and end up in a decent standing in the Big 12. Their net, without some of those other big wins, is still not going to be super high. It would probably get up into the 50s. And that's fringy with the net. We know that. So this will be very interesting down the stretch. Now, the good news is, look, at this point, who cares, right? You're on a 4-game win streak. You're playing as well as any team in the country. And that's very real. You brought it up yesterday. There are analytics that show they're playing as well as any team in the country over the last 3 games, and I assume now 4, because a road win at Arizona State is also very good. And you just sort of take that. Is there anybody in the world doesn't think they can beat Kansas, Arizona, or Iowa State at home? I mean, they just beat Iowa State on the road.
They could win all 3 of them. I mean, all 3 of those games are absolutely winnable games.
Sure they are. Will they? No. But they can win one of them. And I think if they can win the rest of them, which is also a very tall ask in this very good league. But the beautiful, beautiful thing on February 5th is we're having this conversation. They're giving us a resume to pick through. Man, how would this all look if they took care of business, especially in the TCU game, even in the Tech game where they had a really good opportunity? We'd be having a totally different conversation. It's crazy how tight that is, which is what makes me think we're going to have several more of those one way or the other down the stretch here. But I'm so happy that we're putting a product out there with K-State that you get excited about, right? It's not just the Sunflower Showdown. Of course, we're excited about that. Are you going to tell me you're not fired up for K-State hosting Arizona? I am fired up for that game. There wasn't that long ago, Tommy, where it was not fired up for K-State. It was like grit your teeth and be like, oh, good, what's going to happen to them tonight?
Yeah, I mean,
so happy.
With the Sunflower Showdown on Saturday, I was looking to see if early lines have been posted, and they haven't yet. But I was trying to think what's that line going to be? And I'm sure Kansas is going to be favored. I'm sure
5, maybe
4 or 5. But man, let's say it is 4 or 5. I don't think I'm touching that. I don't think I'm touching Kansas minus whatever. I don't know if it's going to be I could see, if it's a couple of possessions, Kansas State absolutely getting this game down the stretch. And, they going all the way back to kind of the beginning of this turnaround for them, you can point at a lot of different things as where it started, a lot of different times as to where this turnaround for Kansas State started. For me, it was the second half of the first edition of the Sunflower Showdown in Lawrence, because I've said it before, they could have very easily folded up like a cheap lawn chair and went home in that game. They were down big early on the road, hostile environment, rivalry game. And man, they took that gut punch and they hung in there. Now, it was a double-digit game for the most part, but they never let it get out of control. I think they cut the lead down to 6 at one point. And you know what? In that moment, at that time, in my mind, that was a win. That was a win for Kansas State. It had been so bad for a while, getting humbled by Houston and losing to Wichita State badly, and all these different things that had piled up for them. Being able to withstand what Kansas was trying to throw at you on their court and walking away with your head held high by keeping it to within 10, I felt like that was a little bit of a moral win for Kansas State, and then they've been able to make it even better moving forward. I don't know if they're going to win the game on Saturday at home, but I certainly think it's going to come down to the wire.
Yeah, I do too. And I remember coming out of the Kansas game, the first one, thinking, boy, they actually looked good there, right? It was more about
Hawkins had his best game as a Wildcat.
You just all of it was, and I don't even know how to describe it, honestly. I don't even know how to describe the difference between that vibe, even in a loss, and what we had seen, because they still lost the game, but it was tangible, because we both know, it was very clear coming into the show the next day, that's pretty impressive second half.
They needed building blocks. They needed indications to show that, they weren't dead on arrival, that they weren't at a point to where you could just ignore them for the rest of the season. And I think that's a credit to Jerome Tang, because it very easily could have completely fallen off a cliff. And, we could be talking about them right now, 5 or 6 games under 500, completely irrelevant this season. Your $2 million man in Coleman Hawkins, feeling like they threw that money away, all the newcomers not contributing, and they've completely done a 180 and they've gone the different direction.
Yeah, I mentioned how much I thought Coleman Hawkins deserved credit and got undue criticism. Jerome Tang didn't get undue criticism, but he got a lot of it. And so he deserves a lot of praise for the way they're playing now. And absolutely has this team in a position now where, I mean, outside of catastrophe and this being a mirage, which I absolutely don't think it is, all of those really uncomfortable things with Jerome Tang early, to me, are in the rearview mirror and not even in the equation now, because we've seen a team buy in under him and him work his magic in that way. That thing that we all really enjoy about him, the way he coaches up and talks about people and talks about behaviors and, those kinds of things that we all like. Now we can refocus on that. And now it really does just become this conversation, I think, is this team good enough to go on the kind of run it's going to need to go on? X's and O's on the court. We can just sort of dissect it that way. And that's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully all the other stuff can go to the side now.
Yeah, of course. And I agree with you. I don't think that it's a mirage, what they've been doing lately. I don't think anybody is at the point, ready to crown them yet.
No,
they've got a long way to go, and they're going to need to go on. I mean, they're already on a 4-game winning streak. They're going to need to go on a pretty epic, streak here, or at least, show a lot more wins than losses in the final stretch of the conference season and then in the conference tournament before we can legitimately have them in the mix for a bubble team. Like, there's a long way to go. So I don't want us to get ahead of ourselves.
No.
But it does deserve a hat tip to Jerome Tang for what he's been able to do.
Just to put into perspective how difficult the kind of run they're going to need to go on, they only 3 teams right now in the Big 12 have started conference play that way, right? So like what we're asking them to do is like what Tech has done through the first half of it's going to be very, 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 very difficult. But we're excited about K-State basketball again, and that's all we can ask. When we come back, we'll have more Sports Daily on the other side.
"66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust." Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
What is GMFB Overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
31001 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you
and inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospitalized from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issue a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
The number 18 Butler Grizzlies on the road tonight in Great Bend facing Barton County. Butler basketball on 97.5 and 1240 KFH. Just download the app, visit odyssey.com, search for KFH. If you can't listen to it in your car, we appreciate you listening to us in your car on your way to work, perhaps. A lot of K-State fans, a lot of Wichita State fans out there this morning, maybe riding a little bit higher, probably more to the K-State side of that. As we welcome you back in, Jacob Albrock, Tommy Castor here. We'll have Shreyas Laddha in next hour to talk KU sports, mostly basketball, maybe a little time for football. We'll see as they're getting ready to go back into the booth. Schedules released, by the way, for K-State and KU football. KU football, I thought, looked pretty good on the schedule. They got a decent one. K-State's probably a little bit tougher, but that's out there too. We'll maybe get some thoughts from Shreyas on that, as well as KU basketball. Tommy, the Shockers last night. We'll just dig in a little bit there. We'll talk a lot of Chiefs in the next hour. They get the win, and I don't know. I mean, they have to, right? Like it's hard to handle it. Corey Washington, I thought, with the other guys out, I don't remember. There may have been a time or two otherwise in this season where he's taken the offensive workload like he did last night. Took 15 shots. Quincy Ballard was fantastic, which needed to happen. Look, those are your two quote-unquote bigs. Certainly Ballard, a little bit of Washington, and that's what Charlotte score. That's what they struggle with. One of the worst teams defending the paint in the country, and the Shockers attack the paint at, like very, very consistently. So that part of it made a lot of sense last night, and they were able to get a win without two of their key contributors. So I don't want to gloss over it. That was a nice win for them. It was nice considering they got down, 7 or 8 early in the game. Were able to settle down and then just sort of control things the rest of the way. That's honestly, Tommy, that's what they should do in the American Athletic Conference. It's not a very good league this year, and they need to be doing more of that type of thing, and they will have a lot of opportunities down the stretch. They're going to play Memphis. We know UAB is pretty good, actually. Like they're not bad. So you've got Memphis, UAB, and North Texas left. And then you got a bunch of other games where, if you're trying to be realistic to what Wichita State should be, they should win them all. They should win them all these other games. I'll give you a pass on Memphis, North Texas, and UAB. You got to win all the other ones.
Yeah, last night the outside shooting was bad per usual. Like that's just not the strength of this team at all. They were 2 of 12 from beyond the arc, but they shot overall over 50% from the field. So they made up for it in the paint, and they made up for it with Quincy Ballard and Corey Washington for sure. I mean, 21 and 10 for Washington, 12 and 13 for Quincy Ballard. So you've got two guys that are going out there and giving you double efforts. That was the key, and they needed both of those guys to have effective games on both ends of the court when you've got Harlan Beverly and Justin Hill out. If you're not going to have your top backcourt then you need to have your front court be able to be effective. And those two guys were last night in picking up the slack. I thought that it was, really impactful, the minutes that Zion Pipkin played. And we've seen him in limited fashion this season. And, I know that Bijan Cortez got the start, but you saw Pipkin in action. I think he played around 10 minutes or so in that game. And it wasn't, you didn't see like just this major, massive drop off when he was on the court. He was able to handle himself. And I think that was really important, knowing that, as you get further on into the season and beyond, to have a guy like Pipkin that can be a contributor.
Let's find out, right? I mean, that's a part of what we want to see down the stretch. Is it's really just he and Joy Igavoja, as far as like what's going to be back that could develop into something. I'm with you. Like, you want to see that, and we'll see if TJ Williams can ever get out there. But at the same time, I wonder how much, I don't want to say how much pressure Paul Mills feels because it would be a very, very large amount. But I wonder how much real, like, win now versus see what young guys have sort of pressure exists. Because at the end of the day, they just got to, they're going to get to the tournament and do whatever it is that they do, one way or the other. It's an interesting dynamic to college basketball altogether now, really, Tommy. Like, let's look at everything big picture. The last year that the Shockers had, and then now this year. Do you really think it's a safe way to roll out there a bunch of really young players next year and hope for the best? That's not the reality. Paul Mills will be in big, he'll be in a lot of trouble as far as heat goes. If that's the plan will have to be to bring in a bunch of other different players in the off season. So I don't know I don't know how much of that we're going to see. We thought for a moment maybe we'd see some of it, but at the same time, like, what does that accomplish in today's college basketball? It's not like you can count on having guys for 4 years anymore. So what do you do there? I think it's an interesting dynamic that we'll watch play out over the last bit of this season.
Yeah, and we're a week removed from those comments that Paul Mills made about seeing what he's got in some of these other guys. And a week later, I remember thinking at the time, like, oh, that's bold. Like, that's an interesting comment. And I wondered how real it was. And outside of, I know Pipkin got some extended minutes last night out of necessity because of injuries. We haven't really, in the couple of games that they've played,
we've
since
seen
he made
nothing
those comments, we haven't really seen anything change. And so a week removed from that, I think it's pretty apparent to me, at least, that he used that as motivation. It was a comment like, hey, you veterans, you're not delivering the way that you need to be delivering. And so, I'm sure he's been harping on that privately for quite a while. It got to the point to where he had to say it publicly. He had to say it publicly to hopefully maybe get back to these veterans. Like, look, like, I've got to go through my press conference now to get through to you guys. I'm going to have to threaten to play other players and have people talk about it around the community. Like, he's going to be willing to make those changes. And at least from what we saw when they played North Texas close, and then last night against Charlotte, it makes me think that, at least I'm cautiously optimistic that maybe those veterans received that message loud and clear.
And it needed to be. I haven't thought, it's so funny. There have been times we were just talking K-State, where I've absolutely thought, yeah, they're not all the way bought in. Like, they're not out there giving their best effort and this is just to me. I haven't really felt that way about the Shockers. Like, I have never really watched them play and be like, man, they just don't care, or they're not bought in. They just didn't play well a lot, right? Or whatever they're trying to do wasn't the right thing to do. And so they weren't executing whatever it is, but it never really felt like an effort thing to me. Maybe that's just me, but I don't think it's been the case. And so, yeah, what are you going to do? Like, and that's the thing, like, Mills's job is on the line. However much heat there is this year, it will be next year. So there is a ton of pressure to start winning games. And so now that we're a week removed, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of different things with the roster. And I'm not sure that those would have been the best ways to win games. They just need to go do what they're supposed to do. They need to execute, and they'll win a bunch of games down the stretch. Or they don't, and will continue to be very uncomfortable. But we'll see. The Shockers play again. It's a Sunday game at South Florida. That's going to be a tough one. That'll be a tough one, but we'll have it for you over on KUIN. More on that game later in the week. Real quick, Tommy, this Luka trade, now that we're in the aftermath, and I'm seeing Kevin Durant might, be shopped around, and the NBA is always insane and all these things. We're starting to get the reaction to the Luka trade, and it cracks me up that literally everybody, it's like, yeah, boy, I thought this was fake. Why did we all think it was fake? It's not that we thought it was fake because, well, two reasons. Why would the Mavericks ever trade that player? That's one reason everybody thought it was fake.
Yeah. And
the other reason everybody thought it was fake is because the return was nothing. And like everybody, LeBron saying this, AD, Luka, like everybody's like, I'm telling you, man, like that didn't make any sense to me either. You hear from the general managers. What do you think it's like right now being that GM of the Mavericks? I've talked to a lot of Mavericks fans. That
he's got to go into like witness protection, I think, at this point.
I'm telling you, man, like it's going to, like, if you're right, which it seems like there's about a 0.5% chance you are, it's going to take a long, long time for that to play out. It's going to be a rough time for that guy. It is. I've talked to Maverick fans. And I loved the Mavericks during the Dirk years and when I was younger and was a little more locked into the NBA. I'm far less so now because we pay so much attention to college basketball now. But, like, it just deflates the energy. That was a team that was in the NBA Finals last year. And it's just like, meh. And Mavs fans are like, well, man, I don't know now. Like, the only reason they were watching and locked in is because of Luka. You think you're going to get locked in because of Anthony Davis at this point? No.
It was a trade failure of epic proportions, I think, even now. And we don't even know, like, the far-reaching impacts of it.
There's no outcome that doesn't make it a bad trade.
Let's just say that they felt like Luka was not the right fit for their long-term organizational needs. Okay, you're probably wrong about that, but let's just say that, like, that's an accepted thing. At least put him on the market.
Right.
At least see what you can get for him. Don't just like give him away for a bag of beans or a bag of bones in the case of Anthony Davis. Like, and that, I think that's what has made it so shocking for me, at least, is not even necessarily that they traded him. Like, that's a wrong move for the Mavericks, but at least like put him out there and see what you can get, because I guarantee you, like 98% of the teams in the NBA are going to give you a haul in return for getting Luka Doncic.
Yes. I was talking to around the office, the water cooler talk yesterday. That's what I thought. I said, and it's the same thing for me. Like, even if the Mavericks are 100% correct in trading Luka because he's too injury prone or he doesn't do anything, no matter what the outcome is, outside of Anthony Davis leading them to a title this year, which he will not, they will not be justified in the trade, because even if they were right, they didn't get enough for Luka.
Right.
So even if you're right about his ultimate future, you took pennies on the dollar for him.
Right.
So that's the thing. The only way they're justified is if Anthony Davis leads them to a title. It's not going to happen, right? It's just not.
Yeah.
So you lose. There's no winning scenario for the Mavericks here. There is not one.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why when, like, you sell your house, like, you get a realtor and you put it on the market for people to go and, like, take a tour.
You got the hottest house on the market.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't just, like, have somebody whisper in your ear that, hey, I'll take your house and I'll, take it for nothing. And you're like, okay, that sounds good to me. I won't even put it on the market.
It's not even that, right? It's like, you've got the best house, the most desirable house on the market, and you reach out to the other realtor and say, I want this. I don't care if they give me the most money. I want them to buy my house.
Yeah,
I want this guy.
And if they could give me a trailer in return, that would be ideal.
Unbelievable. No offense to Anthony Davis, who's still a really good player when he's out there. It's just like, come on, man. We'll come back. We'll talk a little Chiefs. We got KU Insider Shreyas Laddha next hour. Stick around, Sports Daily on the other side.
This is 97.5 and 1240.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now. 831001 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you
and inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrock and Tommy Kester.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. It is another hour of Sports Daily. We are happy to be with you, and we are happy to give you an opportunity right now to win some HTO. All you got to do is text the keyword T to 20357, and you'll win a free iced tea and a free coffee, iced or hot drink from HTO, either Wichita location or in Derby. Again, that's T to 20357. Get in there, check it out. Good luck, everybody. You can enter once a day, and message and data rates apply. We come back into another hour, and we're going to talk some Kansas City Chiefs getting ready for another Super Bowl, their third straight trip, their fourth in 5 years, whatever it is. Tommy, this is good news. Andy Reid gets on the podium. He's been on this morning, and he has no new injuries to report. We haven't talked a lot about injuries because I don't think there really are any. Like, these teams are healthy, which is meaningful, significant, right? In the Chiefs' case, they haven't really been until the last month totally healthy, and they are now. And I do think that makes it a little bit unpredictable if you're the Eagles trying to stop them. Like, what are they going to do? Last week, it was a couple of big Juju Smith-Schuster plays. I think it was Dan Israel who said, I think we forgot he was even on the roster. Totally forgot he was on the roster. What wasn't registering for me anywhere. I'm like, all right, they got Hollywood and they got Worthy and they got DeAndre Hopkins and they've got Nico Remigio's making an impact now in special teams. It's like, oh yeah. Remember when they went and added Juju Smith-Schuster and he really did help them win a couple of games this year? Oh yeah. There's that guy.
I mean, he helped them in the AFC Championship game. I mean, the opening drive against the Bills. I mean, there were a couple big catches from Juju.
You know who the guy is now that we're forgetting about? Like who has to me who has the best opportunity to be the Juju of this game?
If you say Sky Moore, I'm gonna.
Well, is he on the roster? No, I won't.
No, I think actually they activated him from injured reserve, but I mean I don't think he's gonna play.
No, that's not it. This is a serious segment here.
Okay.
Noah Gray. Noah Gray is the guy I think as the Eagles play a lot of nickel. That's what they want to do. You can, I believe, football coaches out there can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe you can attack nickel defense with tight ends. Extra corners attack with tight ends. And I think that, there was very much a time this year with the multiple tight end thing working for Kansas City. We're all focused on Kelsey, rightfully so. He's sort of unlocking a little bit now. And these receivers being healthy, I kind of feel like there's going to be some Noah Gray opportunities in this game. And it just, as we're watching no injuries and thinking about all of these pieces the Chiefs have, trying to think about ways to bet the game. I have not, and you will not believe this, but it's 100% true. I have not looked at betting stuff at all yet. I'm saving all of that, and I'm going to go on the attack for that on Saturday. But that might be one that I'm looking at as an opportunity because I think he's being forgotten about a little bit. And I do think stylistically it's a matchup that favors the Chiefs tight ends to some degree.
I mean, I'm really looking forward to the matchup between whether it's Travis Kelce and Noah Gray versus Cooper DeJean, because what DeJean's been able to do in that Eagles defense. I mean, I think that would be, at least in my opinion, I think that would be the guy. Wouldn't you agree that the Eagles would deploy to try to stop?
Yeah. They don't want to take him off the field. So yeah.
Sure they don't. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that that's going to be one of the more intriguing matchups, I think, in this game, because you can look at the Eagles have a pretty solid secondary. Their corners are pretty good. And so, yeah, it's going to just be the common answer to say, well, watch their corners against the wideouts for Kansas City. And that's all true. But I think even beyond that, if you're looking at potentially Cooper DeJean covering Travis Kelce or, Noah Gray, seeing the way that the Chiefs try to get the ball to those tight ends and then how the Eagles respond to that.
So listen to these numbers here for the Chiefs. This is fascinating as I'm pulling up the receiving props. You have Travis Kelce and Xavier Worthy both pretty high. In all honesty, they have pretty high props. Hollywood Brown, pretty high. Then you get down to the other guys. Juju is over 15.5 yards. Noah Gray is over 11.5 yards. DeAndre Hopkins is over 11.5 yards. Samaje Perine over 7.5, and the two running backs at 6.5, 4.5. They're all at about 1.5, regardless of what their yardage is. So 2 catches. I don't know that I'd attack it, but some of these yardages, doesn't it feel like a game where the Chiefs are going to get pretty multiple? I think there are a lot of 11-yard receiving props that are pretty like, give me a Noah Gray, give me a DeAndre Hopkins, because the Chiefs have had 2 weeks to scheme things up for specific players to attack specific defenses. And just like they did with Juju last week, I absolutely think they're going to do some of that this week. And that's the kind of thing. Like, I don't think, what was it? The first game the Chiefs played against the Texans, it was like, this is Kelsey all over it, right? It's all over. This is a Kelsey game. It's screaming at us. And then you had that with Xavier Worthy. I don't see that with the Eagles. And we haven't the whole time. Like, I don't think there's an obvious, like, oh, this is a blank game for any Chiefs offensive skill player. I think this is one where Mahomes spreads it out and you see 7 or 8 guys catch a ball in this game. I just, that's the way it feels to me.
Going back to those props, I mean, I know you mentioned Hopkins, and I do like that. And you mentioned Noah Gray. Juju for me at, what'd you say, over 11.5?
15.5 for him.
I even like that for over 15.5 for Juju.
You're probably going to need 2 catches for that. Maybe one long one. But yeah, I would take the yardage over the catches for sure.
Yeah. I think that, to your point, I mean, I think that it will be spread out quite a bit. I think that that's the way that the Chiefs would prefer to play offensively, is spread the ball around to multiple receivers. Really outside of the divisional round against the Texans, when Mahomes peppered Travis Kelce and he had 7 catches and 100 and some yards receiving. Really, like, that's kind of been the MO of the Chiefs, is to spread the ball around to multiple guys. And so I think that we'll probably see something like that similar on Sunday.
So against the Texans, they did have a lot of guys targeted, but really the receiving work was done by 3 players, Kelce, Worthy, and Gray. Like, it was crazy how much they funneled that in. And what's even crazier about it, they didn't throw the ball very much in that game, to be fair. Only 25 throws for Mahomes in that game. You go then to the Buffalo game where Mahomes threw it, same, 26 times, right? 26 times. It was funneled to Worthy, as we thought it would be. Felt like a Worthy game. They were, to me, they were predictable. And we did. It was like, go Kelce big against the Texans. And then against the Bills, go Worthy big against the Bills. And both of those things happened. I don't think that's going to happen in this game. I think as they target a lot of these guys, and they certainly did more of that against Buffalo, where you had, I believe it was 8 players with receptions. I think we're going to see more of that, but even more of, like, I don't think it's going to be like 8 guys just get like a catch. I think we'll see that. I don't know that I see any of the receivers for the Chiefs. Let's call it. It's hard to say that with Kelce, but I don't think we're going to see anybody with more than like 5 catches. Probably more like a bunch of guys with 4, 3, and 2 catches. Something like that. I do think it'll look a little bit different, and this is a good thing for the Chiefs. The Eagles are good enough defensively where they're probably going to key in on some things, and it just feels like the Chiefs are going to rely on all of those other players that they finally have at their disposal to pick apart the Eagles in a short passing. I don't even know that I think they're going to take a lot of shot plays. I think the creativity comes in formations and those kinds of things. So look at some of those. Those are interesting bets.
I actually kind of like a couple of the touchdown prop bets too as a dart throw. Like, you look at like DeAndre Hopkins or Juju Smith-Schuster, Noah Gray. Those 3 guys are plus 3,000 anytime touchdown scores. Like, I like those as a dart throw, because you go back to past Super Bowls. I mean, remember a season ago, McCole Hardman caught the game-winning touchdown. Like, McCole Hardman was way down the depth chart at that point as a wide receiver. 2 years ago, when they played the Eagles in the Super Bowl, it was Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, getting into the end zone. Like, those guys were scoring touchdowns, and they weren't wide receiver 1 either. Like, that's kind of what the Chiefs have done, at least in previous Super Bowls, is getting the ball to guys further down the depth chart. I don't know if I would go quite as far down as like a Justin Watson, although he did catch a 2-point conversion in the AFC Championship.
Count as a catch though.
So right, but what I'm saying is that, like, I don't think that it's a terrible bet to do a dart throw on one of these, wide receivers further down the depth chart for a touchdown.
I think you could do all of them. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I think you could. Let's see what you could do, and still, if you went 5-1 on Hopkins, 5-1 on Gray, and 6-1 on Juju, you hit any one of those three, you're making money, and that's an anytime touchdown. By the way, you want to get real squarely, you do a first touchdown, but you're making money if any of those guys catch a touchdown. Yeah, I like that. I think you're onto something there, and it'll be fun. We'll get into it when we make picks on Friday. That'll be a part of what we do. Like we'll talk about some bets that we're making. We'll put together some crazy long shot, and we'll go with PJ Glasser on that too. So we have plenty of that coming. Just wanted to. As I see no injuries being reported really for either team, I kind of gotta Noah Gray itch here in this one, that he's going to do something here. Certainly that he can clear 11.5 yards. That's the first one I'm sort of keying in on as I'm just still trying to browse around a little bit. Speaking of browsing around, in our next segment, there's going to be some teams browsing around because two Pro Bowl, you want to call them Pro Bowlers, Hall of Famers, apparently on the trade block in the NFL. Either one of those guys potentially fit the Chiefs. We'll come back. We'll talk about it next on Sports Daily.
"66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust." Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
31001 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issue a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Welcome back into Sports Daily, everybody. Want to give a shout out and an appreciation to Crestview Country Club for being great supporters of the program. A great time to get out there. They've got the 2 big, fancy, top-of-the-line TrackMan simulators going right now. I'm told those are very popular as it's cold outside, and it's fun. Tommy and I have both utilized that. Go up, you have a couple beers, bars open, order some food. We actually watched some college basketball, swung the clubs for a little bit. It was a great time. All kinds of different things. If you're not a golfer, they've got other things you can do there at Crestview. It's a lot of fun. The pool in the summertime we talk about. So give them a call. It's a great time to join if you've ever thought about it, because you can probably get some good deals this time of year. So give them a call. We appreciate their support of the program. By the way, speaking of cold and the weather, be careful. If you got into your car this morning in your garage and you're driving, be real careful when you get out of your car, because the concrete is slick as hell out there right now. Like, everything's got a light sheet of ice on it. So not only drive safe, walk safe. I was, I had to do some stuff last night, Tommy, and I totally biffed it. Like, it was slick, like just totally biffed it. And it was like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, the roads coming in this morning weren't bad at the time, but I know that, like, especially on the highways and rush hour and all of that. I mean, the roads aren't busy when I come in, so they really wasn't bad. But I've heard like Kellogg is rough right now, and the interstates are tough. So take it slow, take it easy. As soon as temperatures warm up over above freezing, it's going to get better pretty quickly. But we still probably have a couple of hours to go on that. So make sure you just take it easy and be safe.
You're right in that range right now of when something bad can happen that you didn't, because you just didn't know. And it's
right.
I don't know what the temperature is right now. My watch says it's 30, 31. So you're right on that fringe area. So just be careful out there, everybody. Don't be like me and slip and fall. And certainly be careful in your car.
You got to get you a life alert bracelet or necklace or whatever. That way you fall in and you can't get up, and somebody can come to your aid.
The circumstances of last night were not, it wasn't something like this as old man talking. This is not the time or the place for the story, but I owe you a story about that. But a part of that was me slipping and falling.
Man, I will say, and I know people I don't know the story. They don't know the story. You've been selling it to me for over 12 hours now. I'm on the edge of my seat. I hope it lives up to the
I'm going to spin a tale. I am my grandpa's grandson, whose favorite line was, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. You know, that was always his motto. So you can build one up a little bit, especially when you're telling the adventures of that. And I will do that. Not here yet. I will later, probably, but not yet. All right. Anyway, not to be a tease. We come back to Sports Daily here. We talked about right before. So the NFL gets this 2-week gap before the Super Bowl, and the NFL always does a good job of being relevant, right? Whether it's Goodell talking about how many games are going to play, how many games are going to play overseas, whether it's, people fanning the flames of a referee conspiracy, whatever it is, people talk about the league all the time. Well, the last couple of days, we've seen it for on the field stuff, and it's that 2 Pro Bowl caliber, all pro caliber players now, and 2 guys that are going to be in the conversation for the Hall of Fame. One of them almost certainly will be, and the other maybe. Cooper Kupp and Myles Garrett are both being floated out there. Cooper Kupp, because apparently, according to Cooper Kupp, the Rams want to move him. Myles Garrett, because he wants to be moved. But you talk about 2 high impact type players. I don't know how much Cooper Kupp has left in the tank. If he comes back and gives you even close to what he's capable of when he's at his prime, he's got a lot. I mean, it's going to be highly impactful. But certainly Myles Garrett, who's in the conversation for this league's best defensive player, would be wildly impactful potentially. And we'll watch this, Tommy, because those are plays. Certainly Garrett, lesser degree Cooper Kupp, unless he finds a fountain of youth. But those are needle-moving, difference-making type players that could push a team over the edge next year.
Yeah, and I think that, because both scenarios are entirely different, I mean, I think that you could probably get Cooper Kupp for less than, obviously, than what it's going to take to get Myles Garrett. I mean, that's a given. But because the Rams are wanting to move Cooper Kupp, they're going to be pretty willing, I think, to make a deal with the team that wants him. And I think a lot of that, he's been injury prone. We know the way that receivers typically are on the other side of 30.
Right.
That Cooper Kupp is right now. But really, I think a lot of it for me is the ascension of Puka Nacua as the main target, the main wideout for the Rams. And that sort of relegated Cooper Kupp, when healthy, to being that savvy veteran. And there's a role for that for sure, but probably not at the price tag that the Rams are paying for him. So to me, that it makes sense. I think that there are teams out there that could absolutely utilize Cooper Kupp in a way where he could have a couple of more productive seasons. But you're right. I mean, the most impactful out of the 2 is clearly Myles Garrett, because he can go from day one and be, I think, an immediate difference maker that can take your defense to greatness. I mean, he can take your defense to a level where, I think whatever team he goes to, you have to look at as a championship type caliber defense, where Cooper Kupp can be a nice piece in your offense for sure. But Myles Garrett is going to be, could potentially be a catalyst for whatever team he goes to.
Cooper Kupp's an issue is going to be his contract, I think, as much as anything else. I think there are a lot of teams that would like to take a chance with Cooper Kupp. He's got a contract to clear, which is what the Rams are trying to do. I don't know that anybody's going to come in and overpay for Cooper Kupp. I think there are a lot of teams that'll overpay for Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's got, I believe it's 2 years left of control on his deal. So even if you can't get him to commit to some kind of extension, which of course teams that trade for him will want to start there, but even if you can't get him for 2 years, that's going to be an interesting market. I think, honestly, every single team in football, hey, Mavericks, this is how you trade a generational talent, okay? Every team in football will be interested in Myles Garrett. The Browns don't want to trade Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett wants to be traded.
Yeah.
And so now you have a bidding process, essentially, where every team would like to have Myles Garrett. He plays a premium position and might be the best at it in football. So who's willing to pay the most to get him? Who can afford to do it? I think you start with the Lions. Him and Aiden Hutchinson, you kidding me? I think you start there. I think you look at a team like the Cowboys. If they could do anything to try and if you're going to ride it out with Dak, what if you put him with Micah Parsons, right? If you're the Kansas City Chiefs, what the hell does a first-round pick mean to you if you can go get Myles Garrett? You know what I mean? Like there, it doesn't matter what the team is. You can make a case for every team in football being in the Myles Garrett business. Now, how close teams are to contention is probably more about how willing they are to trade multiple firsts, which it almost certainly will take. And that's what makes it the most interesting, Tommy, because I think you're going to see really good teams more willing to trade that kind of capital than you are the teams that have the capital the Browns want, right? How many teams with that might be in position to either have a good draft pick this year or look like they may have better draft picks would be willing to use them to go get Garrett? There will be some, again, the Cowboys, there will be some, but not as many as probably picking at likely the end of the first rounds. Like if I asked you right now, Tommy, you're the Chiefs, you're Brett Veach, Myles Garrett's on the market, cost you 2 first-round picks. Right now, let's not think about the financial implications of that. We will go down that road in just a second. But if it was just your next 2 first-round picks and a third somewhere, whatever, you doing that deal?
All things being equal, if we're not talking financials, yeah, I would do that deal for sure.
Absolutely.
That being said, though, the financial, we can't ignore that. Like that's a major part of it.
So, but
I think that takes the Chiefs out of the picture at that point.
No. I do too. But I just mean like willing to trade the draft capital.
No, I think so. Yeah,
I think most teams would be willing to do that. So then you have to take in the financials. Okay, what does that cost you though? You got 2 years of control of Myles Garrett. So here's why the Chiefs would be interesting. Could you afford to do it over that 2-year stretch? Because I think that answer matters too. Like if you're not even talking about, having him for a long time. Because I think, are you, even if it was 2 first-round picks for 2 years of Myles Garrett, would you do that? I think you'd think about it, especially if they win this Super Bowl. Maybe not if they don't.
But I also think, because remember, Myles Garrett is the one that's asking for this trade, and so he's going to be in the driver's seat. And I think part of it, if I'm Myles Garrett, part of it is whatever team trades for me, I want an extension.
Absolutely.
Like I want you to restructure my contract right away. Yes. I don't want it to just be 2 years and then I'm doing this again. Like restructure my contract, extend me long term. And again, I think that probably takes the Chiefs out of it.
What? Okay. And again, like understand this is totally Wednesday of Super Bowl week, absolute speculation and fun, not advocating. Don't get your feelings hurt, Chiefs fans, as we explore these things. What if I told you it cost you the ability to sign George Karlaftis long-term? So you have Garrett, you might have them both for a couple of years, but you know that if you do this, Karlaftis walks as a free agent.
Yeah, it's for sure an upgrade in your defense. And I love George Karlaftis, but every team is going to have that conversation because you bring in a Myles Garrett right away. It's an upgrade.
These are the conversations you have to have.
Right. And so I get it. And I get having those hypothetical, type conversations. It does run counter to the way Brett Veach operates. Now, that being said,
I don't know that it does. They did this for Frank Clark. They literally did the same thing for Frank Clark. They traded a first-round pick for him and then made him the highest-paid defensive player in football.
But their financial, I'd have to go back and look. Their financial situation, I think then they had more flexibility than I think that they do now to be able to make something like that happen. Because there are already these conversations about, are you going to be able to re-sign certain guys like Trey Smith? And I know they were able to get Creed Humphreys locked up and all of that. But, there are those conversations that are happening now because you have to pick and choose. There was go back to all of the drama with Chris Jones, who's a foundational piece of this Chiefs team, and the amount of time it took for him to get a new contract. And he sat out, like all the drama surrounding that. So things have changed since, when was that? 2019, when they traded for Frank Clark and then extended him. Like we're talking 5 years, 6 years down the line. Things financially are different now for the Chiefs, where they've got to try to find a way to make all these different pieces fit. And I do think that does run counter to Brett Veach. That being said, though, man, it'd be amazing to watch Chris Jones and Myles Garrett on the same defense, and Karlaftis.
Yeah, and a Minihue.
That would be, it's like an abundance of riches at that point. Yeah. That would be incredible. I just think it's extremely unlikely that happens.
I think it's unlikely too. Again, full disclosure, we're just having fun in Super Bowl week exploring, because guys like Myles Garrett don't become available. Like they just don't. And so if he is, like, we're just having fun with this.
And you know what? Another team that I look at, because I do think, and I've seen this speculated around, I do think the Browns are going to be a lot more agreeable to trades from NFC teams than teams in the AFC.
Yeah.
For sure,
Hey,
right?
sorry, Browns. It doesn't matter at the moment. You tied your horse to Deshaun Watson. They're not going to be in contention
right.
soon enough for
You're
that
right.
to matter.
But I do think that there is. I think that's a legitimate thing to think about.
Maybe.
Like, it's not like they wouldn't trade him to an AFC team. It just might cost an AFC team a little bit more.
Yeah, I think you got to take the best. You got to take the best offer.
You mentioned the Lions for sure.
They'll be the most aggressive.
I'm on board with that, but don't discount a team like the Commanders, because if you go back to I think of the way that the Texans operated after the rookie season that CJ Stroud had. They went out and they tried to load up, and obviously the Texans, they made the playoffs, but they faltered, at certain times throughout the season. But they really tried to bolster up the team around CJ Stroud after his rookie year. I could see Washington doing the same thing around Jaden Daniels.
Absolutely. I think they're probably, like, just at a quick hip shot, they'd be in the top 5 for me, most likely to make that happen. Again, the Chiefs would probably be in the back half or the back third. But I'm going to give you one more scenario, just because I think this is fun. You trade for Garrett, but it will most likely cost you Trey Smith. Trey Smith's probably gone anyway. I think that's the general consensus now, which sucks, and we'll approach that in the offseason. But if he's gone, whatever. So then I'll give you one more here. What about you get Garrett, but it costs you Trent McDuffie, who's going to be a very high ticket free agent?
That's really tough. I don't like that you're posing these to me, because I don't have an answer. Like, I love Trent McDuffie.
I know. That's why this is fun.
And I know Myles Garrett is, cream of the crop and all of that. Man, that would be hard. If you're telling me that I would have to lose both Trey Smith and Trent McDuffie to get
probably
Myles
losing
Garrett,
Trey. You're probably losing Trey Smith anyway, so I don't think that's fair. We'll just say McDuffie.
That's hard, because I also think about the other corners that the Chiefs have, and I don't have nearly the level of confidence in those corners as I do Trent McDuffie. Like, while you're, I think, as a whole, upgrading your defense totally, you're downgrading your secondary, and that's tough. That's hard to do.
I agree. I don't know that I would do it if I knew it would make me not have the ability to sign McDuffie. And at some point, I don't think you can carry the contracts of Jones if you had Garrett and McDuffie. I don't think you could. Now, you could see if Jones would restructure. You can massage and maneuver and do all these things. You got to look at the other side too. Like, the Chiefs can afford to be aggressive because they've always been able to say, we got Mahomes and Kelsey, right? We got Mahomes and Kelsey. Can you say that 4 years down the road? I don't know. It's fun. Again, the Chiefs are not going to be anywhere near the top of this list. Nowhere near, because of the financial piece. I think they'd be as willing as anybody for the draft capital piece. It's the financial piece that gets really hard, and that's going to be hard for a lot of teams. We'll see what happens here. There are also going to be teams that, probably feel like they're closer than they are, as you mentioned, that Garrett may not want to go to because they're not necessarily Super Bowl contenders. Why wouldn't the Atlanta Falcons sell the farm for Myles Garrett? There are a lot of them. The Buccaneers,
the Niners could be a team that maybe,
I don't know if they, and I don't know these teams' financial
Myles Garrett together. That'd be fun.
God, it'd be fun for who?
Fun for them.
I hate the 49ers. It would not be fun at all. It'd be terrible. But it's what about the Bills? Why not the Bills? You know what I mean? Like, why not the Bills? If you're the Bills and you just need that last little shove, why not the Ravens? There's a lot of these teams. Why not the Texans, who already have a good pass rush? Heck yeah. You're one of these teams. Here's what probably happens. One of the teams with a young, inexpensive quarterback makes this move. Enter the Texans, enter the Broncos, really enter any of these teams.
The Commanders,
enter any of these teams. I'm going to tell you who I think makes this trade. Just right off the top, the Bears.
I just said the Bears. I think that.
Oh, you did? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Yeah. I think the Bears I think Myles Garrett's going to be a Bear. Just a like a whatever vibe, gut feeling, whatever you want to call it.
That makes sense, because that division is so good, and the Bears they started the season hot and then fell off, but they've got to try to keep pace in that arms race in that division with the other three teams. And I think that would be that's a key addition right there for a Bears team to try to surround Caleb Williams. I like that a lot.
It makes sense. Anyway, just having fun here. Super Bowl week. Players like him don't go on the block very often. They do sometimes, but not very often. We'll come back. We'll talk a little KU. Shreyas Laddha, our KU Insider, joins next.
"66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust." Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Is the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
310-01 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issue a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. It is Sports Daily here on KFH. We are rocking and rolling on the Wednesday of Super Bowl week. Jacob Albrock, Tommy Castor with you. Glad to be with you on this Wednesday. Coming off a couple of college basketball games that we're happy about last night in KState and Wichita State. Expecting Shreyas Laddha to hop on here in just a couple of minutes. We'll work on that connection while we continue making our way through. Talking fun and ridiculous and silly trade rumors, because why not? It's we got a couple of days till the game, and one of the best players in football is apparently on the market. A couple other NFL headlines that have made their way through the Super Bowl week as all the players are sort of out there talking, and they, go and they visit all these different things on Radio Row. JJ McCarthy saying he wants a fair chance. The Vikings quarterback situation is interesting, Tommy. Sam Darnold cost himself a lot of money over the last couple of weeks. What would if you're the Vikings right now? How do you handle this? I mean, I think the best case scenario is Darnold on like a 1-year deal or like tagging him, because the only risk is you don't know what you don't know how quickly he's able to bounce back. It's not an easy decision. Even if you're Team Darnold or Team McCarthy, it's not an easy decision. On one hand, if you're Team McCarthy, how healthy is he? If you're Team Darnold, how expensive is he? So it's a really interesting situation there. Whereas like Atlanta, who we thought might be in this situation, theirs is much easier, right? Kirk Cousins is hurt. We find out his arm is hurt. They've seen what they want. They've already turned the page. Now they just got to deal with it. I don't even think the Vikings know what they would prefer to happen here.
Well, I think what they would prefer to have happen, I don't know how realistic it is, but they would prefer to do what they were going to do last year, but do it next year. Like that, they would prefer to have Sam Darnold on a 1-year deal and then bring JJ McCarthy along. And at some point, potentially during the season, you make that handoff. You make that changeover to JJ McCarthy. I think that's what, because that's what they were setting up to do initially anyway. Like they had Sam Darnold in house. JJ McCarthy looked pretty good. And, I'm not convinced that they were going to ride with JJ McCarthy to start the season. Like, I think that they were probably going to bring him along with a guy like Sam Darnold, kind of showing him the ropes a little bit. And it could have very well been the 3rd game of the year. It could have been the 9th game. Who knows? But of course, McCarthy goes down with that injury and it becomes Darnold's job. I think that what their best case scenario is and what they would prefer to have happen is to do what they were going to do this season, but just do it next year.
Yeah.
I don't know how realistic that is, because
I don't either. His market value is pretty high.
Right. It is. But again, I think honestly, the best thing for the Vikings for next season is that he did see his value go down over the last couple of games.
Sure. But he has an agent, and anybody worth their salt's going to get out there and be like, look at this season. Like, are you kidding me? Look at this season. We got to pay that. If he takes a 1-year deal, it's going to be for a lot of dang money. Like, if it's a 1-year deal and I'm Sam Darnold, it better be $50 million. Start there. because otherwise now I want a 2 or 3 year
But
deal.
it also depends upon what other suitors are out there for him. And I know that there are, but like, what kind of market is he going to have? And not just for a 1-year deal with other teams. Like, are there other teams that are going to be willing to sign him to a multi-year deal? I don't know the answer to that.
I think there are more teams that would be willing to build and take a shot with him on a 1-year deal than there would be to commit to him for 2 or 3 years.
So I think that really the Vikings have to just beat that. I don't think they're going to have to compete with a lot of multi-year deals with Sam Darnold. They're just going to have to probably commit to pay him for next season if they want to have that, that whole transition from Darnold to McCarthy. And I think that's the best case scenario if they're willing to pay up.
We're doing fun scenarios here. What if you're the Titans and you decide, you know what, Abdul Carter's too generational potentially. We don't want to take the quarterback, which there's some building momentum for this, by the way. We don't want to take one of the quarterbacks. Let's take Abdul Carter because he's that kind of guy. We're going to take him. What do you do at quarterback next year? What about Sam Darnold? What about Sam Darnold either for a year, which probably makes less sense, but what about 2 years at like 22, 23, 24 million? Do that if you're the Titans. Let him sort of bridge the gap while you build around and then eventually find your quarterback. I think that makes some sense.
Maybe. Or assuming he wants to play, I don't know how realistic this is. Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Could Aaron Rodgers go to Tennessee? Like he could still be that bridge guy, and you probably would rather have him for a season than Sam Darnold. I think
maybe at cost, but what's Rodgers? Rodgers ain't going to play for nothing.
I know, but I'm talking holistically. Like, can you imagine the excitement and energy around the Titans for a season if you've got Aaron Rodgers coming in? Like the ticket sales and the jersey sales. Like you're going to get a lot more of that if Aaron Rodgers is your QB for a year than Sam Darnold coming in.
But man, Sam Darnold, like if
and
we're looking,
will accomplish the same thing. They'll both be bridge quarterbacks to the future.
Yeah, maybe. I'd rather take a shot with the potential upside of Darnold, who's not that old. How old? Let me look at his age real quick. Yeah, he's 27.
Yeah.
What if last year wasn't an aberration? Like Rodgers, there's nothing left after like his ceiling, like all that stuff. What if in this world of possibility, this former high pedigree, high round pick who's always had, all the raw skills, what if last year wasn't a mirage? What if he's actually pretty good? You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't you rather, if you're going to do a bridge anyway, like if you were a team like the Titans and Darnold came out and he's not going to replicate what he did last year because he doesn't have, Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson and all these weapons. But what if he's still what if he comes out and you're like, yo, that was actually for real. Like he is good. Like he's a good like a Kirk Cousins sort of. Then I think if you've got him, you're like, well, hell, let's just make this guy our quarterback for the next little while. You couldn't do that with Rodgers.
Yeah, but I do think that that's going to have to be, in my opinion, a decision that teams make now. Because I think that Sam Darnold probably views himself as that kind of guy, as he should. And so if I'm him, I'm going to try to lobby for a multi-year deal. I don't know. Then there might not be a market for it, but I certainly think that there are quarterback needy teams out there that will say, hey, Sam Darnold, like we liked what you did for the majority of last season. We're going to take a flyer on you to be our quarterback. I don't think that you need necessarily another prove-it year from Sam Darnold because he had a prove-it year just this season. I mean, look at a team like the Raiders, for example, and you've brought in Pete Carroll and you've brought in Chip Kelly as your offensive coordinator. If I'm the Raiders and I'm looking for a quarterback right away to be plugged into that offense, and after watching what Sam Darnold did for the Vikings for the vast majority of this season, why not offer him a 2 or 3 year deal at the age of 27? Like, I think that there would be potentially a market for him on a multi-year deal to where, if he's going to be a bridge quarterback, that's only going to be if there's not a market for him to be signed for 2 or 3 years.
So that's my point, though. Like with him, rather than the 1 year thing that the Vikings are going to want, I think there is more. I think there should be more of an appetite to do it because he's not old and he did just give you what he gave you. And he's shown glimpses of that over his career, right? So like that's where a team, and it's any of these teams that are, the Giants would make sense. Like really any of these teams, if you're willing to go a couple, 2-3 years, just in the off chance, like if he'll do it for 20 something million and the off chance that last year was not an aberration, you've hit a home run at that point. Like you have knocked it out of the park. Absolutely.
And you know what? It's not just Sam Darnold. Like, look at a guy like Russell Wilson, who was trying to basically save his career. And he played better in Pittsburgh, honestly, than he did for Denver. And I think has built up a little bit, at least, of a market potentially for himself moving forward. He's not going to get big time, major mega money, but I think at least for the last couple of years of his career, he could carve out a nice area. That's going to be kind of the same thing, I think. It's what the Falcons wanted to do with Kirk Cousins. That didn't really work out. So it could go one way or the other. Another success story in that regard is Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield went into Tampa as kind of a prove it thing, and he's been able to solidify himself as a viable and really good starter in the league in Tampa Bay. So there are success stories with teams doing this sort of thing where you don't necessarily, like if you're the Tennessee Titans, have to go and draft a quarterback right away.
Yeah, it's he's a really, really, really interesting player. There are a lot of those. Trey Smith, by the way, I'm just looking at a list of potential free agents out there. CBS Sports has T. Higgins as the top guy. Not a huge surprise. They have Trey Smith number 2 as a guard. How often do you see that? A guard that high? He's so good, but it's too bad that it's likely not going to be able to work out with the Chiefs. But he's up there. It's a good class. A lot of good defensive players on the list. Pretty good wide receivers, honestly, on the list. Actually, some like really good wide receivers. The next quarterback on the list is Justin Fields. He's not going to get a big deal. He'll get a smaller deal. But again, a guy that maybe you bridge with. He honestly makes more sense in a one-year bridge than Darnold does. I think if you go for Darnold, you try to get the best of him and get him on the cheap rather than that, 1 year. I just don't think bottom line. I don't think he's coming back to the Vikings. I don't think it makes sense.
By the way,
turn the page.
Not to like turn the corner and go a different direction here, but it is really nice. We've gotten this indication. It was Travis Kelce on Monday, and it was Andy Reid yesterday. Both of those guys shooting down any kind of speculation about them retiring. That's nice that's quieted down, early on in the week. So it's not something that's kind of hanging over the Super Bowl. Cause I remember last year it was like, man, like Andy Reid could ride off into the sunset. It actually took, I think, him on the podium after the Chiefs had won, saying that he was going to be back for that talk to quiet down. So at least they're getting it out of the way early this week. And so we don't have to, speculate on that moving forward. That was a nice change in the midst of all of this trade talk and free agency talk and all of that in Super Bowl week. At least we know that, at least all indications are that both of those guys are coming back.
Why wouldn't they? They love it. What if they win? Here, I thought about this. We'll get into this maybe tomorrow because we just have a couple minutes here. The Chiefs and Eagles sit there. What about either of these teams, Tommy? No matter what happens in the game in the offseason, makes you think they can't be right back there next year. I mean, they've been there 2 out of the last 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and there's a lot to be said and done, but
a lot of different. I mean, there always are a lot of moves.
There's nothing that will happen in the offseason that takes the arrow from pointing up for both of these franchises. Nothing that will happen will take that away. If obviously if Kelce and Reid return, which it sounds like they will. Nothing's going to point, like it's all going to still be pointing up for both of these franchises.
Yeah, it how
does that make you feel if you're the Bills or the Ravens right now?
Well, and it becomes a puzzle. Like how do you piece together the other parts of this team in the offseason? Like, does Hollywood Brown come back for another year? It was kind of a 1-year prove it deal for him, and he was gone the majority of the year. Yeah, so do you see him for another year? Do they bring Kareem Hunt back, on another potentially 1-year deal? There are a lot of decisions, I think, that are even outside of the scope of like the Trey Smiths of the world and all of that, they are impactful moves. And it's going to be interesting to see how they navigate all of that.
Yeah, Hollywood would have to re-bet on what he bet on last offseason, which is possible. But remember, they're going to get Rashee Rice back, and he'll serve a suspension probably in some way, form, or fashion. But they're going to have him and Worthy now. Yes, arrows pointed up. All right, we'll come back. One more segment of Sports Daily. Don't go away.